Most people think that turning 60 is just another birthday, a simple number on a calendar that marks the transition into a senior category. They imagine that if they've made it this far by being relatively healthy, they can just coast along doing exactly what they've been doing for the last 2 decades. But science tells a much more urgent story. There is a biological tipping point that occurs right around the 6 decade mark, a series of non-negotiable systemic shifts that happen deep inside your cells, your bone matrix, and your neural pathways. If you don't know these changes are coming, they will feel like a sudden, inexplicable breakdown of your health. You'll feel more tired, your joints will ache more, and your memory might seem to flicker. But if you understand the underlying biology, you can actually master this transition. Today, we are stripping away the myths and the sugar-coated advice. We are looking at the 5 inevitable body changes that happen the moment you turn 60 and exactly how you can pivot your lifestyle to stay stronger, sharper, and more resilient than people half your age. We aren't just talking about aging, we are talking about biological recalibration. Change. Number 1, the invisible theft of muscle, advanced sarcopenia. The first change is perhaps the most insidious because you cannot see it happening in the mirror until it has already reached a critical stage. It is called sarcopenia. While it's true that you begin to lose muscle mass slowly starting in your 30s, the age of 60 marks a velocity shift. At this point, the biological brakes fail, and the speed of muscle loss shifts into high gear. Between the ages of 60 and 80, the average person will lose between 30 and 50% of their total muscle strength and mass. This isn't just a matter of aesthetics or looking toned for the beach. Muscle is far more than just a tool for movement. It is your body's largest endocrine organ and its primary metabolic engine. It is the warehouse where your body stores amino acids. It is the furnace that regulates your blood sugar by absorbing glucose, and it acts as the primary shock absorber for your entire skeletal system. When you lose muscle, you don't just get weaker, your entire internal system begins to fail. Why does this accelerate at 60? It's due to something called anabolic resistance. As you age, your muscles become deaf to the signals that tell them to grow. In your 20s, a small amount of protein and a little movement would trigger muscle synthesis. At 60, that same amount of protein does almost nothing. Your body becomes incredibly inefficient at processing the building blocks of muscle. This is why you might find yourself gaining weight and feeling flabby even if your caloric intake hasn't changed. Your engine is shrinking, and therefore you are burning fewer calories every single minute of the day, even while you sleep. Furthermore, the loss of type 2 fast-twitch muscle fibers is what truly defines the danger of 60. These are the fibers responsible for power, speed, and, most importantly, balance. When you trip over a rug, it is your fast-twitch fibers that fire to catch you. If they are gone, you fall. At 60, protein is no longer a dietary suggestion. It is a clinical requirement. You actually need more high-quality protein than a 30-year-old to trigger the same level of muscle maintenance. But protein alone isn't enough. You must engage in hypertrophy-focused resistance training. Walking is excellent for your heart, but walking will not stop sarcopenia. You must put your muscles under mechanical tension. You need to lift, push, and pull weights that challenge you. This sends a mechanical signal to your DNA that says, do not discard this muscle. We still need it for survival. Change number 2, the stiffening of the great pipes, cardiovascular architecture. Even if you have spent your life with perfect blood pressure readings, the physical architecture of your heart and blood vessels undergoes a structural transformation at 60. Imagine your arteries are like high-quality rubber bands, stretchy, resilient, and able to expand and contract with every beat of your heart. At 60, those rubber bands begin to turn into stiff plastic pipes. This process, known as arterial stiffening or arteriosclerosis, is driven by the cross-linking of collagen and the loss of elastin in the vessel walls. As these pipes become less flexible, they can no longer cushion the pressure of the blood being pumped out by the heart. This creates a rebound effect, where the pressure waves hit the stiff walls and bounce back toward the heart, leading to a natural and often inevitable rise in systolic blood pressure, that top number on the scale. But the changes aren't just in the pipes, They are in the pump itself. The heart's left ventricle, the chamber responsible for pushing blood to the rest of the body, often becomes thicker and less pliable. It takes longer for the heart to fill with blood between beats. Additionally, the specialized pacemaker cells that control your heart's electrical rhythm begin to decrease in number. You may notice that your maximum heart rate is lower than it used to be, or that it takes much longer for your pulse to return to a resting state after exercise. The danger here is that stiff pipes lead to micro damage in the brain, kidneys, and eyes. To combat this, you must focus on the health of the endothelium, the thin microscopic lining of your blood vessels. The endothelium produces a miracle molecule called nitric oxide, which tells your vessels to relax and dilate. After 60, your natural production of nitric oxide drops by over 50%. You must supplement this through your diet. High nitrate foods like beets, arugula, spinach, and garlic are essential. Furthermore, Zone 2 aerobic exercise where you can still hold a conversation but are breathing heavily, is the gold standard for maintaining arterial elasticity. You are essentially flossing your arteries every time you get your heart rate up consistently. Change number 3, the digestive shutdown and the malnutrition paradox. One of the most overlooked changes at 60 happens inside your gut. Your digestive system essentially decides to take a permanent slowdown break, creating what we call the malnutrition paradox. This is a state where a person can be overweight or even obese, yet clinically malnourished because their body can no longer unlock the nutrients from the food they eat. The first part of this change is hypochlorhydria, a significant decrease in the production of stomach acid. This is a massive biological hurdle. Stomach acid isn't just for breaking down food, it is the key that unlocks vitamin B12 from animal proteins and allows for the absorption of calcium, magnesium, and zinc. Without enough acid, B12 remains trapped in the food and passes right through you. Vitamin B12 deficiency is rampant in the over 60 population, and its symptoms, fatigue, tingling in the hands and feet, and brain fog, are often tragically misdiagnosed as just getting old or even early-stage dementia. The second part of the shift is the slowing of peristalsis, the muscular contractions that move food through your intestinal tract. This is why digestive discomfort, bloating, and constipation become more frequent. But it goes deeper. A slower gut often leads to an imbalance in your microbiome, the trillions of bacteria that regulate your immune system and your mood. At 60, your brain's thirst center in the hypothalamus also begins to atrophy. You lose the ability to accurately sense when you are dehydrated. By the time you actually feel thirsty, you are already deep in a state of cellular dehydration, which thickens your blood, puts immense strain on your kidneys, and causes sudden drops in energy. To thrive after 60, you must treat hydration and fiber as a daily prescription. You need to prioritize bioavailable nutrients, foods that are already partially broken down or easy to digest, and you must ensure you are getting enough intrinsic factor and stomach acid support to ensure that every bite of food actually fuels your cells instead of just passing through your system. Change number 4, the neural recalibration, brain aging versus wisdom. The fear of losing one's mind is perhaps the greatest anxiety of turning 60. And while it is true that the brain undergoes physical changes, it is not the death sentence for your intellect that many believe it to be. Yes, the brain physically shrinks slightly in volume, particularly in the prefrontal cortex and the hippocampus, the areas responsible for complex planning and new memory formation. The protective coating on your nerves, called myelin, can also begin to thin, which leads to a slight slowing of processing speed. You might find it harder to remember a name on the spot or find the right word in a heated conversation. However, 60 is also the age of neural recalibration. While fluid intelligence, the ability to solve abstract problems at high speed, declines, your crystallized intelligence is often at its absolute peak. This is the ability to use a lifetime of accumulated knowledge, pattern recognition, and experience to make superior decisions. Your brain is essentially trading speed for wisdom. The real danger at 60 is neuroinflammation. As your immune system ages, a process called immunosenescence, it becomes leaky, sending inflammatory signals to the brain. This is where the fog comes from. The most critical defense you have is the glymphatic system. Think of this as the brain's nightly cleaning crew. While you sleep, your brain cells literally shrink to allow cerebrospinal fluid to wash away metabolic waste and toxic proteins like amyloid beta. As you turn 60, this cleaning system becomes less efficient. If you are not getting deep, high-quality sleep, the trash from the day stays in your brain, leading to cognitive decline. To keep your brain young, you must engage in neuroplasticity exercises. Doing the same crossword puzzle you've done for 20 years won't help. Your brain already knows how to do that. You need productive struggle. Learn a new language, take up a complex instrument, or learn a new sport like pickleball that requires hand-eye coordination and social interaction. These activities force the brain to sprout new dendrites and build bridges between neurons that keep the network robust. Change number 5. The thinning of the structural armor, skin, bones, and vitamin D. Finally, your outer shell and your internal scaffolding undergo a radical structural transformation at 60. For women, the years following menopause see a dramatic drop in estrogen, which is the primary protector of bone density. For men, while the decline in testosterone is more gradual, the bone-thinning effect still catches up by the age of 60. Your bones are living tissue. They are constantly being broken down, resorption, and rebuilt, formation. At 60, the demolition crew starts working faster than the construction crew. Your bones become more porous, especially in the hips, spine, and wrists. But the skeletal change is coupled with a change in your skin-to-bone axis. As you age, your skin becomes thinner and loses its concentration of 7-dehydrocholesterol, the precursor needed to turn sunlight into vitamin D. This means that even if you spend the same amount of time in the sun as you did at 30, your body produces significantly less vitamin D. This creates a dangerous spiral of fragility. Low vitamin D leads to poor calcium absorption. When the body doesn't have enough calcium in the blood, it steals it from your bones to keep your heart beating. Your bones get weaker, your skin gets thinner, and your subcutaneous fat, the layer of fat just under the skin that keeps you warm and protects your blood vessels, begins to disappear. This is why 60-year-olds often feel colder and bruise more easily. To stop this armor from thinning, you must change your nutrient strategy. Calcium is important, but without vitamin K2, calcium is dangerous. Vitamin K2 acts as a traffic cop, directing calcium into your bones and teeth and keeping it out of your heart valves and arteries. At 60, your structural armor requires a specialized combination of resistance training to stress the bone, telling it to stay dense, and a synergistic blend of vitamin D3, K2, and magnesium. Conclusion: the new rules of the game. Turning 60 is not a tragedy, and it is not a downward slide. It is simply a change in the rules of the game. Your body is no longer forgiving. In your 20s and 30s, you could mistreat your body and it would bounce back through sheer biological resilience. At 60, your body demands maintenance excellence. You cannot outrun a bad diet, you cannot wish your muscles to stay, and you cannot ignore the quality of your sleep. But here is the secret. People who understand these 5 changes, sarcopenia, arterial stiffening, digestive slowdown, neural recalibration, and bone porosity, and adjust their habits accordingly, often end up in better shape than people in their 40s. By prioritizing high-intensity resistance training, focusing on nutrient density and gut acidity, protecting your heart's pipes with nitric oxide-rich foods, engaging in productive struggle for your brain, and mastering your bone-building supplements, you aren't just aging gracefully. You are becoming a new-age senior, stronger, wiser, and more capable than society ever expected. The changes are inevitable, but the decline is a choice. Listen to your body, respect the new science of your biology, and make your 60s the foundation for a vibrant, powerful second half of your life. You have the experience. Now give your body the strength to use it.